In the heart of an unforgiving world, where disease reigns supreme and compassion is a rare gem, my first encounter with leprosy would challenge everything I thought I knew about life, humanity, and healing. This is a tale of misunderstanding, fear, and ultimately acceptance. I invite you to join me as I recount the haunting story of an old man named Thomas, a soul weighed down by his affliction, yet illuminated by a wisdom that would echo in my heart forever. The year was 1350, a time when the shadow of the plague was starting to loom over Europe. Yet, leprosy, an ancient disease, was feared more than the specter of death itself. Those afflicted were shunned, cast away to the outskirts of society, leaving behind lives once full of laughter, love, and purpose. I had just begun my journey as a healer in a small medieval village nestled between rolling hills. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and the distant sound of a church bell chiming, marking the passage of time. With a heart full of ambition and a mind brimming with knowledge, I thought myself invincible in my ability to cure the ailments of my people. Little did I know, my first patient would be a test not just of my skills, but of my very humanity. That fateful day began like any other, with the sun breaking through the fog and the villagers bustling about their daily tasks. My mentor sent for me, his voice grave as he spoke of an urgent matter. I was to tend to a man named Thomas, an old soul exiled from his village due to his affliction. As I approached the destination, my heart raced with trepidation. The path grew narrow, overrun with wildflowers, and the distant cries of birds were met with an unsettling silence in the air. What would I see beyond the door? And how could I help him without succumbing to my own fears and prejudices against a disease that was so heavily stigmatized? Upon reaching the dilapidated hut at the edge of the woods, I hesitated, the weight of the moment anchoring my feet to the earth. As I pushed the door open, I was met with a sight that would haunt my dreams. The dim light barely illuminated the interior, and there, sitting against the wall, was Thomas. His body was ravaged, the grotesque signs of leprosy laid bare for me to see. Flesh disfigured, hands twisted, and skin mottled in shades of despair. My instincts yelled at me to turn and flee, yet I found myself frozen in place, caught in the webs of my own anxiety and moral obligation. Despite his horrifying appearance, when Thomas looked up at me, I was struck by an unexpected realization. His eyes sparkled with a clarity that belied his condition. They were deep pools of wisdom, holding a depth of experience that surpasses mere existence. "Please," he implored, his voice shaking, "do not touch me with your hands. I do not want to pass my suffering on to you." In that moment, I came face to face with the power of his plea. Thomas was not just a victim of a disease. He was a man, with histories entwined in the fabric of life. His request echoed in my mind, as if he were teaching me a profound lesson about vulnerability and mutual respect. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself returning to Thomas's hut more than I had anticipated. Each time, the atmosphere would change subtly. I would bring him herbs, tinctures, and knowledge from my studies. But in return, I received something invaluable: heartfelt conversations that danced upon the chasms of his affliction. Thomas shared tales of his youth days, filled with laughter and love. Stories of family bonds that once flourished openly in the village, now closed off to him. Our bond deepened with each visit, as I learned not only about the physical aspects of leprosy, but more importantly, about the intimate connections that define our humanity. As I listened to Thomas, I began to realize that his spirit remained unbroken even amidst his suffering. Every story echoed a cherished moment, a reminder that life could still be beautiful even when marred by disease. One night, as the shadows grew long and the stars sparkled overhead, he told me, "You see, my young healer, we are all but a collection of our experiences. I may have been cast away, but I still possess the light of memories that illness cannot erase." This was a transformative experience for me. I no longer viewed illness solely as an enemy to conquer, but as a profound opportunity to embrace the beauty of humanity, even in its most chaotic forms. Thomas became my mentor in the ways that matter, most reminding me that healing was not merely the absence of disease, but a reclamation and recognition of the spirit that resides within each of us. As I continued to care for Thomas, I found my perspectives shifting. I began to observe the treatment of leprosy in stark contrast to the realities of compassion and care. The villagers believed that leprosy was a punishment for sins, casting out those affected as if they carried a curse. Yet Thomas, with his kind demeanor and profound understanding of life, became a living testimony against that notion. He taught me that compassion could be as curative as any remedy I could prepare, and that each person deserves empathy irrespective of their circumstances. The world became a little brighter each day spent in his company. I marveled at how he reminded me that despite the darkness of disease, the light of human connection can illuminate the most shadowed paths. I learned to appreciate the elegance of life, to acknowledge that every breath we take is precious and often spent in pursuit of relationships that shape our very existence. Yet, as I tended to him, the season turned and the inevitable approached. The fragility of life became starkly apparent as Thomas's health began to decline. I could see the changes. The twinkle in his eye began to dim. His laughter turned fragile, and I found myself pleading for time to stand still. The weight of loss loomed heavy over me, and as the days dwindled, I grappled with the thought of living without the wisdom he had bestowed upon me. As the final days of Thomas approached, I devoted myself to his care with a fervor that arose from deep within my soul. I sat with him, night after night, providing whatever comfort I could muster. I would brew herbal teas and prepare soothing balms, yet no remedy could heal the profound ache of knowing our time together was reaching its end. The bonds we formed were steeped in shared vulnerability, and in that intimacy, I found hope as much as despair. One evening, as the fire flickered in the hearth, casting soft golden light over his weathered face, Thomas fixed me with a gaze that pierced through the fog of sorrow. "You have been a light in my darkness," he said, his voice hoarse but steady. "Remember, young healer, my body may fail me, but the wisdom we shared lives on in you, carry it forth." Those words echoed through the chambers of my heart, and I held on to them tightly, knowing that they would guide me long after he was gone. It was no easy task to witness the gradual decline of someone I had come to regard as a mentor and a friend. I found myself grappling with anger and grief, feelings that fought for space alongside gratitude and love. I often leaned against the cool stone walls of the hut, watching as the seasons changed, the world outside blooming with life, while inside the vitality of Thomas waned. How cruel, I thought, that nature could carry on so indifferently while my world felt shattered. On a particularly heavy night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, I grasped his frail hands desperately, feeling the bones beneath the skin that was once filled with warmth and vitality. Tears streamed down my face as I begged him, "Please, hold on, Thomas. I need you. The lessons you've taught me cannot end here." He smiled faintly, and for a brief moment, I glimpsed the vibrant spirit I had come to admire. "My dear friend," he said, his voice a whisper, "each ending is but a beginning. I have lived a life filled with love, laughter, and heartache. Do not mourn me. Instead, celebrate what we have shared. Use what you have learned to heal not just bodies but souls." In that moment, surrounded by the impending storm, I realized that he was offering me something sacredical to honor his life and the lessons imparted, even in death. As dawn broke the next day, the light filtering through the window played upon Thomas's peaceful face for the last time. He passed in the early hours, a gentle sigh escaping his lips as he released himself from the shackles of his suffering. I wept, a torrent of emotions flooding over me, yet I felt an abiding sense of peace, knowing he was free from pain. I had learned that life's journey is often intertwined with suffering, yet love endures beyond the ephemeral boundaries of existence. In the days that followed, the village mourned the loss of a man they barely knew. Yet I stood by his grave, flowers in hand, humbled by the weight of my own experiences. The stories Thomas had shared resounded within me, reminding me that he was not merely a victim of leprosy, but a person who had lived, conveyed wisdom, and imparted love. My heart swelled with the understanding that I carried a piece of him within me. The wisdom would forever shape my approach to healing. I began to shift my practice, nurturing not only the body, but the spirit, the healing arts, encompassing kindness, connection, and understanding. The lessons I learned from Thomas radiated outward as I treated others, inspiring empathy in a world often quick to judge. I became an advocate for the marginalized, using my voice to speak out against the injustices faced by those cast aside due to fear and ignorance. As I traveled through the villages, I shared the story of Thomas, bringing to light the humanity that resided in all afflicted souls. His legacy became intertwined with both my journey and the journeys of those I encountered. Many began to regard illness not merely with a passive gaze, but with a heartfelt understanding of the struggles that lay hidden beneath the surface. With time, I found solace in the memories of my friend, and I continued to carry his spirit with me. I transformed the sorrow of loss into a passion for healing woven into the very fabric of my being. Each patient became an echo of Thomas, challenging me to look beyond the disease and search for the essence of their humanity. Thomas had once told me that every breath is precious, and in every interaction, I strove to honor that truth. In caring for others, I found myself healed, discovering the profound impact that compassion can have not just on the afflicted, but on those who extend it. And so, my journey continued, a pilgrimage led by the echoes of a kind spirit who, despite his circumstance, had gifted me with a new lens through which to view the world. As I reflect on that pivotal moment of meeting Thomas, I realize that every encounter shapes us. It teaches us, challenges us, and ultimately transforms us into better versions of ourselves. My time with Thomas reminded me that healing is not confined to the physical realm. It is a tapestry woven from compassion, understanding, and the laughter we share. Each patient, like Thomas, had a story waiting to be told, a humbling reminder that all lives carry meaning beyond their hardships. In closing, I urge you to seek out the stories around you, to delve into the depths of compassion, and to never forget that every person, regardless of their struggles, embodies a rich universe of experiences. May we honor those stories and carry their essence into our daily lives so that we can find the humanity in every encounter. If this tale of Thomas resonates with you, if you have found wisdom in our shared journey, subscribe to Medieval Stories. Join us as we uncover more tales of courage, humanity, and the hidden lessons of history. Together, we will explore the forgotten stories of our past and embrace the beauty of understanding, one narrative at a time. As I walked back through the village after Thomas's burial, I couldn't shake the feeling of purpose that had ignited within me. The whispers of his wisdom seemed to follow me, urging me onward. The stories he had shared were not limited to the confines of the hut. They echoed in the minds of the villagers as well. They became symbols of resilience, illuminating the struggles faced by those who lived in the shadows. Just as Thomas had, the weeks passed, and the village began to see a change. No longer did I merely dispense remedies and potions. My role transformed into something deeper. I facilitated conversations that dared to break the silence surrounding illness. We spoke openly about fear, about compassion, and about the shared humanity that connected us all. I encouraged people to look beyond the skin, beyond the labels that society cast upon those who suffered. This shift was not without its challenges. There were moments when the old prejudices resurfaced, moments when the villagers recoiled at the notion of compassion for those afflicted by leprosy or other diseases. But I held firm, often recalling the look in Thomas's eyes, his gentle spirit, undaunted by the world's rejection. I became an advocate, standing at the forefront of understanding, determined to ensure that those like Thomas were never forgotten. I began organizing gatherings in the village square, where people could share their stories of loss and healing. Those who had once been perceived as others became integral members of our community in spirit and in heart. We sat together under the grand oak tree, once a silent witness to the suffering of many, now a haven for stories that spilled forth like a healing balm on open wounds. Each tale shared was an act of reclamation, a way to weave a fabric of connection that enveloped us all. As time went on, the village underwent a transformation. Empathy blossomed within people's hearts as they began to see the complexities of each individual's journey. They shared laughter, supported each other through trials, and celebrated the triumphs big and small. Leaders began to emerge from unexpected places, stepping forward to dispel misconceptions about illnesses and to promote a community built on understanding and inclusion. On the eve of the harvest festival, I stood among my villagers, gazing at the vibrant decorations that adorned the square. It was then that I realized the collective journey we had taken. It had been a path paved with tears, but marked with resilience, wisdom, and newfound bonds of love. As we feasted and laughed together, I sought out a quiet corner where I could reflect on my journey and the legacy that Thomas had left behind. In the dim light of twilight, I found myself lost in thought. I remembered the strength that radiated from Thomas, how he had taught me that illness could strip away the layers of a man, revealing not just suffering but a profound capacity for love, bravery, and connection. I felt the weight of his teachings settle deeply within me, guiding my heart as it swelled with gratitude for every life story I had the privilege to hear. The festival drew near its end, and I stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the fire light my face. "Dear friends," I began, my voice steady yet brimming with emotion. Tonight we celebrate not just the harvest, but the rich tapestry of lives woven together through experience. Each of us carries within us stories, lessons that reflect the beauty and complexity of our existence. With heartfelt fervor, I spoke of Thomas, sharing snippets of our time together, the laughter, the wisdom, the moments that had forever changed me. Let his story be a beacon, guiding us towards compassion for one another, no matter our struggles. Let us strive to honor every person's journey, to lift one another up rather than cast anyone aside. The gathered villagers fell silent, absorbing the weight of my words. It was as though the spirit of Thomas permeated the air, wrapping around us like an embrace. In that moment, I felt a sense of unity, as hearts opened to the possibility of change, fueled by the stories we shared. As I finished speaking, applause erupted, first a gentle clapping, then building into a rhythmic cheer that echoed throughout the square. But more importantly, I noticed the glow of understanding flickering in their eyes. I had hoped to inspire empathy, yet I realized I was merely reflecting the compassion that had been there all along, waiting for the right moment to shine. As weeks turned into months, I continued to honor Thomas's memory by striving to create a space for healing that acknowledged both the physical and emotional wounds of those who sought my care. In that pursuit, I reached out beyond the confines of our village, encouraging neighboring communities to participate in our story-sharing events. With time, this initiative blossomed into a movement where the tales of those like Thomas echoed far and wide. People traveled from near and far to share their stories. The gatherings grew, transforming into vibrant festivals of storytelling where we celebrated each person's journey. Musicians played melodies that wove sweet harmonies, while poets recited verses of struggle and redemption. The air buzzed with laughter, tears, and applause as the richness of the human experience filled every space. The core of my practice transformed. It was no longer about mere remedies, but about nurturing the soul, the interconnectedness of our stories becoming the very remedy we all sought. I learned from each person I met. They were not passive beings waiting for a healing touch. They were active participants in their journey, weaving their own narratives. I realized that every healing story was a potential ripple, spreading outward, shaping the lives of others. Over the years, I worked tirelessly to dismantle the walls of fear and stigma surrounding diseases in different areas of the kingdom. The legacy of Thomas had set me on a path of advocacy, one that urged me to push against societal boundaries that restricted understanding and compassion. With every patient I treated, I carried his spirit alongside me, knowing that our connection transcended time and space. As I look back now, I realize that my encounter with Thomas, my transformation from a mere healer to a compassionate advocate, altered the course of my life and the lives of countless others. The story of that old man, his struggles, his laughter, his gentle spirit served not just as a memory but as a guiding light. His legacy endured, a reminder that love can thrive even in the bleakest circumstances. And so, dear friends, let us continue to remember Thomas and others like him. His story, interwoven with mine, is a testament to the power of shared humanity. As you embark on your own journey through life, may you share compassion, seize opportunities for connection, and honor the stories that shape us all. If you found resonance in this tale, If Thomas's wisdom spoke to your heart, I invite you to subscribe to Medieval Stories. Together, let us dive into more chapters of history that illuminate the profound beauty of our shared experiences and the lessons they impart. Join me in exploring the essence of humanity, one story at a time. Years passed, and my journey continued to evolve in ways I had not anticipated. The legacy of Thomas had become a cornerstone of my practice, a wellspring of inspiration from which I drew strength and wisdom. Each encounter with new patients, each story erupted from the depths of their suffering, felt like a continuation of our conversation, a reaffirmation that humanity is interwoven through our struggles and triumphs. As I traveled to neighboring villages, advocating for the marginalized and gathering stories of resilience, I saw the impact of our collective endeavors. Villages began to establish their own story-sharing gatherings, inspired by the movement we had ignited. The atmosphere shifted from one of fear and stigma to one of protection, acceptance, and warmth. Where once illness had bred isolation, it now prompted community, compassion, and connection. People learned to share their fears openly, and in turn, they found solace in understanding that they were not alone in their journeys. There were moments that challenged this progress, however. Fear remains a potent adversary, a poison that sneaks into the hearts of even the most well-intentioned individuals. I witnessed flare-ups of prejudice from time to time, especially against those grappling with visible afflictions. The inability to see past the surface could still derail the momentum we had built. Yet, through storytelling and open dialogue, I found ways to combat this negativity. I brought forth the narratives of those who once stood on the margins, elevating their voices and allowing their experiences to resonate deeply among eager listeners. In one particular village, I met a woman named Ilara who had been ostracized due to a skin condition that often left her irritable and in pain. As news of her condition spread, the villagers grew fearful and suspicious, viewing her as a cursed figure. When I arrived, I felt an immediate kinship with her. Her story was a reminder of Thomas and how the world's rigid perceptions could distort the truth of one's humanity. Determined to help her, I invited Ilara to share her story at our next gathering. I explained to the villagers that her experience, while shrouded in pain, also carried a beauty that stemmed from resilience and strength. With trembling hands, Ilara spoke of the isolation she had felt, the friendships lost, and the dark nights filled with anguish. As her voice grew stronger, a palpable shift occurred in the crowd. Many began to nod in understanding, their hearts softened by her vulnerability. One mother, who had sat in the back, stepped forward. "I am sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "I feared what I did not understand. I didn't acknowledge your pain, Ilara, and for that, I am truly sorry." Her apology broke the tension in the air, inviting warmth and connection to rise in its place. That night, under the stars, Ilara found herself surrounded by love and acceptance. The walls that had isolated her began to crumble as the villagers opened their hearts to her story. They pledged to offer support and uplift her in whatever way needed moving forward. I witnessed firsthand the transformative power of narratives, how they could shift perceptions and mend what had been broken. In the months that followed, Ilara thrived within the village community. She joined the gatherings, sharing her knowledge and encouraging others to speak openly about their struggles. Her resilience became a source of inspiration, and together we worked to ensure that no one would ever feel ostracized or alone. As the movement continued to grow, I spent more time reflecting on the interconnectedness we shared as humans. Stories became a balm, soothing the wounds our society inflicted upon itself through misunderstanding and fear. Each tale transformed hearts, creating a ripple effect that extended far beyond the confines of our small community. The lives touched by Thomas's legacy continued to bloom into something extraordinary, an embracing of life's imperfections, a celebration of the messy humanity we all share. My heart swelled with pride as we arranged larger festivals where storytellers from far and wide would share their narratives, bursting forth like colorful petals in a vibrant garden. Together, we championed the notion that while suffering could fracture us, shared stories had the power to heal those fractures. At one of these festivals, I spoke on a grand stage, my heart racing with both excitement and anxiety as I prepared to address an audience larger than I had ever faced. I recounted the story of Thomas Shaw. He had inspired a movement that had unshackled countless souls from the chains of fear. The audience listened intently, captivated by the raw honesty that infused my words. I could feel the energy in the aura, promise that this legacy of compassion would endure. As I looked across the crowd, I found Alara among them. Her presence a testament to the strength that can emerge from vulnerability. In that moment, I knew my purpose remained firm. I resolved to be a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the marginalized. The spirit of Thomas resonated within me, pushing me to create ripples of empathy and understanding wherever I traveled. With the success of our efforts came the realization of a greater mission. It became clear that while our immediate communities needed care and connection, many people beyond our borders were facing similar struggles, often unnoticed. Thus, I began to forge alliances with healers, storytellers, and advocates throughout the kingdom, expanding our movement to encompass a broader narrative of compassion and inclusivity. We ventured into less accessible areas where illness and stigma reigned supreme. With each tale we shared, barriers slowly gave way and hearts began to open. Those who once felt invisible found their voices rising within our collective narrative, weaving their own complexities into the rich tapestry we continued to create. Witnessing this evolution evoked a profound sense of gratitude within me. Each person held the power to change the world through their voice. As our gathered stories rippled through the kingdom, I encountered individuals from all walks of life suffering from forgotten diseases, social stigmas, and societal rejection. I realized that every story was a call to action, a plea for recognition, and an invitation to heal not just our bodies but our souls as well. The movement grew, with each festival becoming a focal point for interaction, understanding, and healing. We shared meals, laughter, and stories, creating bonds that transcended fear. We crafted workshops where listeners could explore their emotions openly, and together ventured into the realms of art and expression. Through painting, poetry, and music, we found fresh avenues to engage with our humanity, uniting our hearts and crafting a more inclusive narrative. Our message spread like wildfire, inspiring neighboring regions to participate in the storytelling movement. Soon, the villagers who had once shunned those afflicted by disease had become advocates themselves, working towards a future that embraced all individuals as worthy of love and dignity. As I stand today, looking back at the journey sparked by my friendship with Thomas, I am filled with deep appreciation for the lessons learned along the way. His story had ignited a movement that fought against fear, nurtured understanding, and transformed the way our communities approached compassion. I had learned the importance of shared experiences, not only as a healer but as a fellow human. The legacy of Thomas endures in every changed heart, every healing touch, and every story shared across the kingdom. And as we embrace the complexities of our lives, may we always remember that even in the darkest times, a single story can illuminate the path to compassion and understanding. If you found inspiration in this tale of resilience and healing, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Subscribe to Medieval Stories, where we will delve deeper into the narratives that shape our understanding of humanity. Together, we will explore the rich tapestry of stories that remind us of the connections we share and the power of storytelling to heal the world one narrative at a time.